I was sitting here wasting time rather than just hopping straight into the next the conspiracy theory iceberg part 4. So this is 2 of 2. Welcome back. We're kicking it off. I'm ready. I'm still a little bit tired from the last one, but as you see, my energy has raised because I'm finally awake. It is now 7:20 a.m. Sitting on my ass. Let me get some. I would jump up, but I got those shorts on. Look at oh man. Okay, I didn't know if I was gonna expose myself. Okay, don't question the movement. Don't question the movement. Just get up and do it too. Just get up and do it too. Okay. Ooh, and I need. We're gonna make it happen. I'm gonna put it out in the universe. Wendigoon is someone I want to collab with 100%. 100%. It's not like a want where it's going to create suffering. Like if I want it too much, it's like, I need it. Nah, but I'm going to try to get me and him on the same wave. Usually, I've been grateful for gigantic YouTubers checking out my channel. So it's been pretty cool and appreciating that I watched their video. Next up is Wendigoon. Wendigoon, I'm putting it out there. Me and you are going to end up on the same wave. This dude just seems like a man. It's just like us. All things on our level. I think it would be really cool to see a video, like even just talking to him or something like that, maybe on my second channel. Which, speaking of the second channel, I will be uploading things again. Oh, this is a great time to say this. If you're someone who's definitely watching me watch these videos, then if you want to hear more of my thoughts on things or request certain things that you want to hear me talk about, I'll put that on my second channel because love making commentary videos just over games. That's originally what I did on an old YouTube channel. So yeah, but then back to the whole video, long intro aside, because we're in 2 minutes. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sending out a lot of love to the Conspiracy Theory Iceberg 2. And yeah, I wanted to record so bad that I woke up and just hopped straight on that other video. Sorry if my energy was a little bit low in the other one. But as for this one, here we go. As always, forgot to say it in the last one too, subscribe if you want to be a part of the founders. Don't worry, I'm going to get more confident about saying that. I feel weird about always saying subscribe anyways. But yeah, let's get into this. Shout out to Wendigoon again. If you want me to take down any of my videos, I don't mind. And let's hop in here for part 2.
And we are back for the second half of tier 4.
Yeah.
Also, thanks to you all, I have very recently became monetized, which is insane, and absolutely it's all thanks to you guys. Thank you for watching. I'm still learning a lot of this whole YouTube thing, so bear with me on that, but thank you guys so much for allowing me to get to that opportunity, and hopefully we just keep going up from here. So again, thank you for watching.
That's sweet.
MIRL cults, the acronym MIRL refers to meet in real life, as in reference to the fact that several online internet cults actually form into real world cults that perform different ritualistic acts or things like that when they meet in person. Every bit of information I could find pointed towards a specific setting in which around the 2010s in Los Angeles there were several murders that occurred, supposedly by an internet cult that started online, but this is just in reference to that idea. The Toronto Protocol is in reference to...
Okay, so that one's pretty a loose thing. You could just like... I was gonna make a joke. I'm still gonna make the joke. I can't announce when I gotta make the joke. I gotta make the joke. I didn't, like I said in the last video, I'm gonna be a little bit more myself. Well, I said should I? And I definitely should on the sarcastic joking side. I was gonna say those meet in real life cults, they could be anything, and now it's gonna be like D&D parties, but I'm just joking. I love the D&D people.
French
I'm a D&D person.
Documents that were found in 1985. Supposedly, this document was a French translation of a form that was handed out to several different world powers and world elites around the same time. The basis of this document was that in order to pass agendas into society, that they first need to begin by breaking down ideas of family, ideas of tradition, and things such as. One of the main things in the manifesto was destroying religion by indoctrinating communities with the idea that religion is not a good thing and should instead be handed off to governments and things like that to mandate what the people think. Of course, this all relates back to Illuminati, New World Order type stuff, but the reason it's called the Toronto Protocol is because it was originally discovered in Toronto, or by someone in Toronto. The Perestroika deception.
I'm going to say someone dropped it off there to make the Canadians look bad, because all the Canadians I know are nice, but maybe that's the mask. Maybe that's the math. Nah, but all right.
At least I think that's how it's pronounced, is in reference to a new USSR idea that came out of the Cold War. Out of the Cold War, Gorbachev developed this idea of Perestroika, which is essentially saying that in order to further progress the communist ideal within Russia, that they need to be more subdued about it and not as gung-ho as they were during the Cold War in trying to push socialist ideas onto others. The idea of the Perestroika deception comes from KGB defector Anatoly Golitsyn, which said that Perestroika was just a subversion in order to get the world looking away from socialist ideas being implanted into other countries, and instead it would be done slowly through political uprising and behind the scenes movements and things like that. Essentially, the idea that communism is still on the rise, just in a much more subtle and careful way than it was in the Cold War. Presentism is a philosophy.
Before he goes into that philosophy, so you know how he says like what that was and all the politics stuff? I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the politics stuff bores the shit out of me, and I can go into more detail a little bit later on just why, but I'm pretty sure everyone who thinks politics are just like, yeah, what they are, just no, I don't even have to say it. What isn't there's a saying, is it what's not explained is understood, or what's understood doesn't have to be explained, or it's something about like not speaking it. No, I thought it was about something about not speaking it, but we'll go with that. What's understood doesn't have to be explained. So you just know, yeah.
Philosophy very commonly seen in the modern world. It is the idea that people need to be anti-critical about things that happen around them, such as the news, real-world events, and things such as, and should instead focus on the here and now and simply consume media and things like that, rather than thinking about what they're doing. The idea behind it is that New World Order, Illuminati stuff, purposefully injects this into the population to make them more submissive to whatever agendas they try to propagate. The Boots...
so presentism... I'm so sorry if I picked that up wrong from what he's saying. So presentism is the idea... I'm going to repeat it just so you know. Is the idea that we consume the media? Now, just be in the here and now and consume the media. But wait, so is he saying that presentism is like the injected into society idea of consuming the media now? You can you don't have to, like, you know, I always say this, you don't have to waste your comment on saying that, but like it'll click to me probably after the video. We're in a little bit where I'm like, oh, I just got it, but then I won't say anything, so it's all right. But if that's the thought, or just consuming media, or whatever that is, like whatever the presentism is, the word they slapped on it, the ism, that is one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever heard. Like, bro, first of all, you shouldn't. Okay, if you're consuming media like I'm doing right now, and like you're doing watching this, it should be enjoyable. We're both sitting here having a great time looking at conspiracy theories. And also, you should consume media, I feel, that has to do with what you're doing, right? If you're in a certain lane, I cover I react to movies, everything of the sorts that gets recommended to me. So my media is basically the media I choose to consume is in regards to those things. Like, even if I go to do a review, it's in regards to those things. But never once will I consume media I see on the news or everything like that, because it's all fear-based and programming. Yeah. So I guess in a way you practice presentism. Oh, man, these titles, bro, for things. You practice presentism in a way if, you know, I'm going to say practice it in a comfortable way, like in a way that would make more sense than to just consuming a bunch of useless shit that doesn't help you. Boom, mic drop. I don't know.
Void, or Burt Void, not sure how to pronounce that. It is a region in space that is 330 million light years in radius.
Isn't that weird that looks like a close-up one of those like geo rock crystalline things? I don't even know what I'm calling them, but you know, like how like maybe your wild girlfriends or gem fanatic aunts or whatever, just crystal people, got those like rocks that have like the like black space in the center, and then it like goes out and it's like the crystally mineral parts throughout the rock. Doesn't that look like that close up? I don't know. That's just what my mind connects to, and I'm just joking about the gem people. Man, I'm just joking. Don't want to offend
It is also
anybody.
known as the supervoid, and the
Just
reason
kidding.
it's called this, it is a peculiarly large amount of space for so few galaxies.
Boots.
Originally in 1960, it was estimated that only 8 galaxies existed in this entire 330 million wide area. After modern research, it's believed the number is closer to 2,000, but still, that puts it at less than 1/10 of the normal galaxy compaction that occurs throughout space. It raises a question as to why such a wide area of space is completely unpopulated. Some even take this theory to the extent and say that it is because of alien races that colonize and destroy galaxies as they come across from them, and we are simply seeing the aftermath of that. Yellow Cuban balloons is in reference to 7...
Wait, that was the speculation of it? No
yellow
comment.
balloons that were found in a box off the coast of Florida in the 1970s. Given the address and the date on the box and the condition of the box itself, it was estimated that these had been floating in the ocean for roughly 8 weeks. The address on this box said that they were from the USSR to Cuba. When opening the box, they discovered 7 identical yellow balloons that were all inflated with what seemed to be normal air lying in the bottom of the box. After doing research on them, there was absolutely nothing weird about the box itself. There was no wrong condition to the gas inside of the box. There was nothing special about the box itself. But for some reason, these balloons were just being shipped in a crate to Cuba for seemingly no reason. And why were they floating in the middle of the ocean? It's still one of those old Cold War mysteries that have never been solved and probably never will. Driver killed JFK is specifically in mention to William Greer. And while initial...
Before we get to William Greer, that is a strange thing. Just I don't even know what to comment on the balloons. Like, what do you think the balloons were? Leave that down below. Don't be afraid to ever leave multiple comments. I read them all. But that's a very strange thing. Could have been like a sign. There's so much you could speculate on that. It would take all day.
Reports that came out immediately after John F. Kennedy's murder believed him to be the shooter as he turns back to Kennedy in the Zapruder film before the shot goes out. The actual version of events makes a bit more sense. The driver, William Greer, as well as the passenger in the front seat were both CIA agents, and going into the idea that the CIA murdered Kennedy, things start to add up. For example, why after the first shot was fired did he slow down instead of hitting the gas, driving, turning around, doing anything, but he brought the car down to a 7-mile-an-hour speed? Also, keep in mind, after the first shot went out, him and the guy in the front seat seemed to duck in the picture before he turns around. If William Greer himself did not murder the president, the theory says that he was in the know on the circumstances that would lead to his death. So much so that Jackie, after the fact, said several times how odd it was his driving, and she blames John's death on the actions of William Greer in not reacting fast enough, or not wanting to react fast enough. Fracking deaths refers to the fact that around fracking instances, there seems to be an uncharacteristically large amount of deaths from consequences of fracking. For example, it's estimated through reports that in Appalachia alone, roughly 1,200 to 4,600 people have been killed by side effects of fracking, i.e. air pollution, water pollution, and things such as. Given the places that these deaths occur, it is believed that the government knows that fracking causes these deaths and are either purposefully doing it in areas they want to exterminate or at least allowing it to happen to quell the local populace. Esoteric Hitlerism is exactly what it says. It is combining ideas of Hitler from World War II with esotericism, and says that the Third Reich was propagating several sort of universal spiritual ideas in their methodology, and that in the more extreme versions of this, Hitler himself is a form of deity. All the research you do with this leads back to Agartha and Central Earth, and the idea that Hitler essentially raised himself to godhood. Red rooms are the name.
As funny as that is, I could see how that is a very true thing. Going back on the stealing the swastika as a divine symbol, that would be a weird connection to that too, but hey, that's just a theory.
given to several dark web pages in which people are either killed or tortured for the enjoyment of others online. A lot of this, as you read into it, gets into human trafficking. And while we know
these are fucked. And I like the one game that kind of had you do it, the welcome into the game, not had you do it, but had you basically find one of these red rooms online.
In fact, red rooms exist.
So
what makes it even scarier is that all of these people had to come from somewhere, more than likely abduction cases that happen around the US and the rest of the world every year. Plant intelligence is in reference to the theory that plants have a higher intelligence than initially thought of by people. What I mean by this is that we understand that plants react to certain stimuli in certain ways, such as trees will grow in the direction of sunlight, or certain mosses will react to being touched, and things such as. It goes into a further level in saying that plants have a version of consciousness that we just don't understand, and the idea that nature is alive in more literal a sense than we normally mean it. Now come to talk to you about last Thursdayism, because I promised if this topic was ever covered in the iceberg, I would let them, is my girlfriend and last Thursdayism expert, Kayla.
Cool. That is cool. She's coming in. 1 second about plant intelligence. I'm going to pause real quick. All right. Ugh. Stomach, man. I gotta clean up what I'm eating a little bit. I think I know exactly what I ate that's causing this, because it was not causing this before, and now I know. Damn, should I fast? I kind of want to fast. Okay. Well. Okay. Plant intelligence. Sorry to waste your time for a moment. Just had to recompose myself. I was going to say like somebody, but I'm not going to reference that in any of my videos. Plant intelligence. So this is so bad, man. I actually got into a freaking like, oh man, just don't talk to people on like, don't. I can't even say that because a lot of people online are pretty great, and it's just that double-edged sword. There's going to be those ones that are just there. But I remember someone wanting to debate me so hard on the whole plant intelligence thing, and I'm like, look, what's the chemical called? Let me just look it up so when I'm saying this I don't get it wrong. Okay, I was right. I was seeing if I was calling it from memory right. Cortisol is the primary stress hormone. So, now, I'm not going to say if it's exactly cortisol because I can't remember the video. But you can find a video online of them hooking up basically an EKG to two cantaloupes and then cutting like the other cantaloupe next to it, or it doesn't matter. I don't think it really matters the fruit for, well, I don't know. But I'm just going to give an example. It's like, say you took two watermelons and hooked them up to an EKG and then cut into one of the watermelon next to it. It showed that the other one that wasn't cut, that was witnessing this one getting cut, witnessing is so funny to say, gave off levels of cortisol. Like, it gave off readings of cortisol or something like that. Like, the fucking watermelon that was not cut was stressed. That's fucking insane. That's fucking insane to me. That's, yeah. And I just was using that in the sort of thing where it's like, I don't remember the topic of the conversation. It was something about like, eating animals or eating plants, and I was like, I mean, it doesn't really matter which one you do. There is no more. I forgot what they were trying to like argue me on, but I was just like, there's no moral high ground for either, because like there's research that shows that plants are just as living. So I mean, like, the hell are you gonna do? Things were meant to be consumed. It sucks, but like that's how it is. Or it doesn't suck if I guess you do it in a way like, for me, when I go to make food or go to do certain things, I'm always putting intent into things. I'm making sure I'm grateful for what I'm eating. I'm like saying, like, as I'm making the meal, you know, hey, I can eat this. I'm grateful, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm just always in a state of trying to be grateful, because we consume. What can I say? It seemed like I was so stressed trying to get that out. But yeah, you can look that up. I don't know what fruits or what it was when they put next to each other, but yeah, it was pretty crazy.
What is cool?
Girlfriend's here.
Hello.
Last Thursday.
Last Thursdayism, also known as the Omphalos hypothesis. I don't know how to say that. It's Omphalos. Is an idea based around the book of Genesis and creationism that states that when God made the earth, he would have obviously had to make Adam and Eve fully grown with hair, a navel, skin, toenails, and that the grass would have been months old grass at least, and the earth would have been fully formed in a way that made it look 1,000,000 years old. The whole idea of it stems from Philip Henry Goss, who wrote a book with the same name, Omphalos. The natural progression of the idea and where the conspiracy theory comes in is that God or the creator, whatever you believe in, could have done everything as soon as last Thursday, hence last Thursdayism. Which means that we could have been created just as early as last Thursday. Every memory, every thought, everything we ever thought we felt would have been implanted into our brains as early as last Thursday. It's a very interesting theory. It's my favorite one ever because to me it feels like, yeah, that totally could be possible. So
yo,
thank you, Kayla. Acosmism is
said, thank you, Kayla. I love that. Whoa, what the fuck? That is a cool theory, bro. That is so sick, and it almost makes you sick. Nah, it doesn't make me sick. I'm trying to explain it in a way where it's like, oh my gosh, your mind wants to deny it so bad, but you cannot shake the literal possibility of that being true.
More of an abstract idea,
cool.
And it essentially says that nothing in reality is real except for God. So what that means in a practical sense is that none of your experiences, none of what you know is reality.
Always real.
Instead, there's just a God or hierarchical being that is implanting these ideas into us. So essentially everything's a simulation given to us by a deity. The Bouvet Island lifeboat is in reference.
Okay, so with that one, hey, deity coming to you right now, Lunar was lost. If that one is believed, if you're someone who believes it, well, why do I feel like I'm going to explain it? I'm just going to give my comments on it, and you think what you think. Like I said, I have to get into the state of remembering that I don't have to explain myself. But basically, I would say, from research I found, if it goes into the whole simulation theory thing, you would have to be the same as that entity. It wouldn't be given to you. Also, there's evidence in Bibles and other things that you can find that the kingdom of heaven is in you. So technically, if you look at Earth's history and everything, the wars and non-wars and building and times of peace, that is acting as creator and destroyer, which would mean, God is out here. Like, I look up, that's even programming, but damn, that's still programming I have because, I don't. I believe in a higher power and a higher self, the universe. I believe in it all. I feel like it's all connected. It's just many different forms in many different ways, and I believe this since I was a kid. But looking up is just stupid. I should be looking down in here because it's all around you. So, to me. I don't want to enforce that belief on anybody. But if that were true based on the Bible and everything, it's you also. So like how he said, it's like this is all a simulation given to us. Well, we're the same as the entity that made the simulation. So it's one and the same. Me and my me and my bro, but he's my friend. But, see, over-explaining myself, this is what happens. The whole, hang on. I have Markiplier here to explain this. Ready? I have this because I thought it was I love that he said this. Ready?
It's thicker than water, but that's just a fragment of the saying. The true saying is like the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, which means the blood of the people that you choose to be with is thicker than familial traits. Somehow that
yeah, and then he goes, somehow that phrase got turned upside down. But yeah, so brother, but friend. My brother. My bro, we just had this conversation last night. We were like, oh, well, like literally me talking to you, how close we are. And literally everyone has seen that over like our lifetime of being companions. is like, it's literally like I'm talking to a version of myself. Like I'm not like I'm talking into a mirror. Like obviously in this simulation we all live separate lives, but it gets too deep. We're not gonna get too deep and like start thinking, you know what, let's just go Bovet Island lifeboat.
Bouvet Island, which is known to be the most uninhabited or uninhabitable island in the world. It is located north off the coast of Antarctica and is essentially a giant glacial rock that is formed that has absolutely no greenery or no sense of sustainability on it. In 1964, one of the first crews to ever go research the island, when they got to the island, found a lifeboat that was not just sitting there but pulled onto shore. However, around it they could not find any footprints, any evidence of life, nothing. But something got that lifeboat to shore, then pulled it on. There were never any bodies found, anything else discovered, and it simply remains a mystery of how that boat got there. A lot of the theories that have to do with it reference back to the idea of Agartha, and that German soldiers from World War II who were moving that direction, one of them may have got stranded there and later picked up, and that goes in line with the entire idea that the Nazis found Agartha in Antarctica and then tried to move their troops there once the war was over. Abiogenic oil is the thought that oil, as we know it, is not actually a fossil fuels given from dinosaurs or other prehistoric creatures. And
that last one I just really didn't find that interesting, but shout out to the ones who do.
Is instead come from an entirely non-biotic process. Essentially, it would work that carbon monoxide and hydrogen rised up to the surface, combined with zirconium, and created a petrohydroxyl. What that essentially means is that through a mix of natural gases, oil was formed instead of the way that we normally think of it as fossil fuels. Secret societies today is vague, but you get the idea. Just the idea that the Freemasons, Illuminati, and stuff like that are all these conspiracy networks that still exist and operate today outside of the public eye. Real Mysium is kind of hard to figure out on because I can't find a reference to any Mysium with real in the beginning of it, but Mysium itself is in reference to an event that happened on 4chan a few years back. Essentially, a new user appeared on the site called Mysium that said that they were an alien from a different planet who was simply stopping by, connected to the internet, and wanted to know if people had any questions. After answering questions in a sort of vague manner, people started requesting that they take pictures of their house or of their geographic location. Mysium then went around to these areas and started snapping pictures of people's houses from the sky or different areas of the earth and things such as, and it even got to the point that someone asked them to go take a picture of the moon, to which they took a few and sent them back, and through reverse Google image search, no one could find any records of these photos online. Furthermore, someone asked Mysium to come to their house. The person then went outside and started recording, and in the recording you can see a giant triangular ship pass by overhead and keep on going. The guy filming starts freaking out, comes back to 4chan, says that Mysium's real, and then at the end of this entire thing, Mysium said, well, gotta go, my family's here, and took off. So I guess Real Mysium is just saying that Mysium was not a hoax. So yeah. Prison planets can have two possible definitions.
Prison planets. Oh yeah, okay, here we go. This is what I was referring to before, where I said some people think this is a school or some people think it's a planet. I don't know if this is actually referring to it, but it made me think about that. About the Real Mysium, that is insane. That is literally insane. Real Mysium just crashed down. It was just, joking around. Well, crashed down or rose from the surface. I'm saying that for other things. But as for Real Mysium, I guess the only thing I'll say on that is pretty cool. And if it was faked, that could have been one of the most in-depth pranks from, because who's going to have an aircraft like that? You would have to leave that up to the government. But that is sick as fuck. If Real Mysium is sitting here listening to this right now, that is some sick shit. That was a cool moment. Because it's like, I feel like that's... Let me say it. While I'm over here stuttering, show my real self. I feel like more cool moments like that should happen on the planet, bro. Like, on everything. I really wish more things happen like that. And just I think, actually, I don't want to. There was this thing that I should write about called The Sword in the Sky, which was an insane, phenomenon or thing that me and that bro I mentioned earlier witnessed. But maybe I'll go on to talk about that Sword in the Sky and a possible UFO sighting that I've had before. But, man, I've seen a lot of weird shit, I think. I've seen a few weird shit that makes me couple together in my mind that I've seen a lot of weird shit. I've experienced a lot of weird shit. That'd be the same. I don't know if I've seen too much weird shit, but definitely I have a UFO sighting in there, so I'll definitely talk about that. Let's get on with prison planets.
One of them is the idea that the Kessler effect, or Kessler syndrome, which is something that we've seen happen on Earth, in which debris from satellites and things such as are continuously hitting and bouncing off of each other and essentially creating a cloud around the world till eventually we probably won't be able to get spaceships out because this clutter will be too much. This theory goes further to the point that the idea we haven't interacted with extraterrestrials yet is because they have done the same thing in their own time and made it impossible to escape their planet. The other theory is that humans are not the natural members of planet Earth, and some thousand years ago, humans were brought to Earth as a sort of prison planet by extraterrestrials. The evidence for this is things such as humans are not meant to walk upright, and that we constantly get lower back pains from the way our bodies are positioned, and that we are supposed to be living in a different kind of atmosphere. This also would explain why such old world cults and religions had ideas of flying saucers and look to the stars and things such as, essentially as a means that we were put here as punishment and we spent the last 1,000 years trying to get back out. Malta Catacombs is in reference to a series of catacombs that were...
That's very interesting. Weren't meant to walk upright, and that's why we get back pain. I don't know. You see, I mean, so I guess that theory just has holes to me, because it'd be like, part of it seems so cool, but then it's like, back pain. Nah, I'm just joking. I'm stretching out. But if you think about like dogs, or when dogs get old, or when animals get old in general, they genuinely just tend to slow down. So are they technically not supposed to be here either? Because they look like they get aches and pains. That one's just weird to me. Maybe I'm not going in depth enough to talk about it, but that's just my first comment on it.
They were discovered in the 1960s around Malta, Italy. The stories of this one get weird. The way it was discovered is that home contractors were digging around the area and accidentally broke through the rock into this complete underground labyrinth that had never been discovered. After researchers went in, they discovered it was much, much bigger than just one room, and instead was a necropolis, or city of the dead, in which 7,000 bodies were buried in these underground catacombs. What's especially weird is why they all had sort of a ritual done with their burial. It seems as incense was burned on each of them. Inside of there was Christians, Muslims, Jews, and other different competing religions, all buried in this one area. What's even weirder is that on examining them, several of the skulls were elongated. And not to the point of skull binding that is found in several sort of African cultures in old world history, like these very, very long non-human looking skulls. It is estimated that the caves are as old as 4,000 BC. Research became scant after a group of researchers went to the cave, and upon getting to the end of one of the systems, one of the chief researchers said that she approached a giant drop-off, and then in shining her flashlight to the other side, she saw a sort of embankment that 25 people came out of, each of which were 20 feet tall and wearing robes. When they saw her with the flashlight, they all looked towards her and began reaching out their arms. Her and the rest of the research team got out of there, and a couple weeks later, 30 school students went to the area on a sort of field trip to which they got lost, and people that were looking for them heard screaming and shouting, and none of them were ever found. The crew then got out of there, boarded it up, and to this day it is a no-go zone. So what's in the caves? Why were those bodies never found? And what were those creatures walking around in there? Amphibians in Iraq was near...
What the heck, brother? Oh, the Malta Catacombs is a cool one. I'm not sure what I have to say about that. There's a lot I could say, but I'm going to have you guys here forever, so let me not. But, that one's sick. I'm all weird in my chair, just kind of getting comfy and enjoying. I don't know how this looks. This doesn't look comfortable.
Impossible to...
But, yo, the Malta Catacombs sounds sick, bro. I would definitely want to go there. But if 30 school kids went on a field trip and went missing, probably not. But who wants to go? Who wants to go? Let's get a petition signed. Or not a petition, but like let's get a Kickstarter
to find information on. I'm pretty sure this is in reference to...
Oh my gosh, imagine the heck?
The lizardmen of Iraq. Around a place in Iraq called Ubaid, there was a sort of coliseum that was found and discovered to
This is where the idea for the Dark Souls enemy comes into play.
be an old burial chamber. Upon going inside, there were several bodies and statues of old people from Iraq, but what was very weird is several thousand of these little statues were of lizardmen with these very elongated skulls and in different positions. What's even more interesting is why some may disclaim this and say, oh, it was an old world god. These were perfectly mixed in with the normal people statues, and they were all maintaining common poses, kind of saying that it was just a natural occurrence. To this day, no one knows the source of where these lizardmen came from or what the knowledge about them was, and they just exist as if old world history was okay with them.
You think about Skyrim and all these games that have different races. Why do you think?
Phantom kangaroos are a phenomenon that has been found in the United States, in which several people have reported seeing kangaroos in the woods or around their house. What's odd is there are several hundred occurrences of this, with it going from everywhere to someone saw them in the middle of the woods to someone saw one on their front porch, and this is as recently as 2018. It's not like some old previous century concept. Some of the descriptions have them as being much larger than normal kangaroos and even armored. These descriptions match that of Procoptodon, which is an old sort of kangaroo ancestor that remains been found in the United States in years previous, given the idea that maybe this is just an extinct animal that never actually went extinct and is existing in the forest of the United States. The Potomsky crater is in reference to a giant crater-like structure found in Siberia. What's interesting is this, while it may look like a crater on first viewing, is anything but. It is a giant rock structure that just perfectly matches the shape of it, and what's even weirder is that the area immediately around the crater is very much overgrown as compared to the woods around it. Now, while this may lead you to think radiation, there are no highly active radiation in the area. The nearby tribe, the Yakut, has said that it is a place that people do not travel or else they get sick and die, and have even named the area Fire Eagle's Nest. One of the only research groups to ever go and try to take a look at it, because remember it's in the middle of Siberia, in 2005 had their leader die of a heart attack upon approaching it, and there hasn't been much research since.
What the fuck?
Yeah, make your own conclusions about that. Thomas Pynchon was an author that is still alive and is...
Imagine someone just being someone who wants to just see a rock formation and you die from a heart attack. That fucking sucks.
He's most known for his books he wrote in the 1960s. It would take way too long to explain all of the things that he talked about in his book, but essentially he was a fiction author that used like advanced science as a basis for his stories. More specifically, a concept he is famous for dealing with is that of Maxwell's demon, which is the idea that if you had a very small figure that could individually interact with particles and heat on a microscopic level, it could tip the balance of entropy and make physics work backwards. He used this as the basis for a lot of his books and is known as either having a higher understanding than the average person, or creating concepts that are so abstract they've led to several concepts in modern theoretical physics. Animism is just the broad idea of applying a soul or spirit.
That is sick. It's always... It's I don't want to say it's always the creatives, but that's sick.
To anthropomorphic objects. It's actually where the idea of anthropomorphism comes from. So essentially you can imprint the idea of a spirit or character onto a physical item enough to the point that it eventually becomes real. The Dighton Rock is a rock that is found off the coast of the Taunton River in New Jersey. What's interesting about this rock is that it looks perfectly normal from a distance, but as you get close to it, you realize there are these very deep inscriptions all over it that do not make sense in any recorded language, and the depictions also don't match up with anything. Theories about this rock have ranged from King Solomon in showing that the depictions of it are that of the Old Testament, or Norse mythology, and that it is an entire story of Odin laid out on the rock. But both of those ask the question, then why would this rock show up in New Jersey unless Solomon or the Norse or something like that arrived at America and brought the stone with them from all that time before? Either way, it's still interesting that it got there with absolutely no recorded history of it being there.
You know what's funny about that? If that is one of the theories, there's like the TV show Norsemen or something. My mom was watching it, and I don't remember if she was actually like watching it. I can't remember, but I looked up a scene from Norsemen, and oddly enough, I feel like it was leading me up for this moment right here. there was a clip they showed in the show of Vikings meeting Native Americans. I don't know why they did that little skit part, or if they are, you know how some of these shows are like, oh, we're trying to be accurate to like what is going on, and sometimes they were far from it, like, or accurate in referring to the past. I don't know, playing the past, whatever. That, yeah. So I don't know the accuracy of that. That's strange, but they showed a scene like that in Norsemen or whatever the Viking thing was, and they came across the tribe of Indians, and funny enough, why would that rock be here? Well, if the show is showing a moment like that, not saying the show is like canon to human history, but there could be some hidden thing about just the Norse being here.
Bunkers in Mars is in reference to the fact that the Mars rover caught a few short glimpses in the middle of rock faces on Mars of what seemed to be these windows or cutout metal places. This is combined with the theory that water originally existed on Mars, and says that the planet had a mass extinction event in which everyone had to go underground, and that from looking at the Mars rover's images,
Mars is the inspiration for Dune.
Of the planet of Mars, that we can see sort of these last remnants, or possibly still living remnants of the Mars population. Triassic mystery is a little too vague for my liking, because there are several Triassic mysteries when it comes to missing links and things such as. However, the one that I found the most reference is that of Craterochaerodon, which is essentially a giant omnivore that was discovered, and its teeth don't make sense for its skull, and it's supposed to be a sort of missing link. So yeah, that's it. Montanism comes from a man named Montanus, and was an idea he developed in the 2nd century AD, which essentially says that you can continue to expound on the Bible and get insight through revelations. This was specifically done with him, in which he saw that there would be a soon coming end of times, and started sort of the first cult in this ideology, or at least first known religious cult in this ideology, that God would come back soon, specifically at his church. Ideas of Montanism today are just that Christianity can be expounded upon if people receive direct information from God. The Sabic Tomatovic tape, which I believe still translates in Serbian to sandwich tomato, is in reference to a Serbian porn star who claimed that she was roped by a giant spider.
Why is this a conspiracy theory?
No, I'm not kidding on that. It goes more so to say that she was roped by the Jabba Fofi, or Jabba Fofi, which is a cryptid from South America, which is essentially a giant 4-foot wide spider. And while there is evidence to back up that existence, there is no evidence to back up this tape. However, she supposedly became popular in something called Jinky Jinky, which is a Japanese ring of insect-related films, and became a star with costumes and machines in that realm. And I don't want to live on this planet anymore. Marco Rodin was...
I love this dude, man. He's good.
Originally a physicist who came up with the concept of the forever electron, and that there is a path that an electron could follow in which it could convert energy without ever losing it. So essentially a forever supplying power source. Since then, he has got very much so into esotericism and went on this long discovery to try to figure out the name of God and the source of God. And through this series of calculations he did, he figured out that the holy number was 9 and that God's name was Abha, A-B-H-A.
The holy number 9 represents completion. There's a whole bunch of stuff like that. My life path number is 9, funny enough. But, why does the name have to be Abha? It could be anything. Maybe an energy revealed itself to him as Abha, but... Guys, just a disclaimer, these are my own thoughts. I think it's childish. Not childish, I don't want to say that, because childish would have, like, a child would have much more of an imagination. Let's call it manist. No, I'm not gonna say that. I think it's just, like, dumb. I think it's really dumb to give a name to an entity that you wouldn't be able to understand, and it would reveal itself to you probably in the most comfortable way it could. That's just my belief, is like, okay, if we're saying a God created all this, why would we call that shit Abha? Nah.
So, yeah. Operation Paperclip was something that happened after
I remember this one, but don't know too much about it.
World War II, and is now pretty well known, in which 1,600 Nazi scientists were granted U.S. citizenship for their assistance in the American rocket program, and more specifically, the space race. The theory goes on to say that the only reason we beat Russia to space is through the help of German scientists. Planck feedback.
I mean, that would be oddly draw the connections to what the whole Antarctica thing I was saying in the other video. That they found either like there was a few. I didn't say what I thought, but. Whoa. One second. Yeah. I don't even know if I should comment on those things. I think we should just move forward. I don't know. There was just some things that said there may have been some sort of a supercomputer found within old Antarctica where the Germans were. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Is the idea that as something is heated, it becomes more radioactive. So negative Planck feedback would be the idea that deriving temperature or energy from a system creates more radiation, or in other words, adding heat to it would cancel out the radiation. And it's another one of those sort of like nonsensical concepts in theoretical chemistry, that you could remove radiation from a system or destroy it through amount of energy given in or taken out, only backwards. Manichaeism is this 3rd century concept of religion. It essentially applied ideas of Christianity, Gnosticism, and pagan gods all into one. It originated in Persia and is essentially the idea that Christianity can present itself through pagan gods or modern rituals and things such as, and that all of these ideas of supposedly non-religious elements can come together and make the godhead of sorts. So it's essentially combining Christianity with pagan deities. Valis is a novel written by Philip K. Dick, who was a famous science fiction author in the 1980s. Valis stands for Vast Acting Living Intelligence System. Essentially, it is the idea that God is a simulation, or rather we are living through a simulation created by God. However, a lot of his theories apply back to Gnosticism, which again was mentioned in the last.
He called it Gnosticism. It's literally like if the G was silent. Like Gnosticism. Or Knoll is Knoll, like Knolls in a game where it's like GNO. It's honestly my stomach right now that is kicking my ass. Dude, I really shouldn't have ate what I ate, man. It's the bread. Knolls. Yeah, so like Gnosticism. But it's alright. It's actually funny. I like it. He said it like many different ways.
Theory and several of the theories beforehand. And again, it all relates to that idea of there being a god and lesser gods. So what you could derive from this is that the Valis system itself he wrote about is one of these lesser gods. ICBM decoys has 2 different definitions. Cool. The first being that countries that do not have ICBMs will simply have fake ones in order to deter other world powers from attacking. So essentially the whole gun in the paper bag thing. Also, for those who don't know, ICBM stands for Intercontinental Ballistic Missile. The other idea of it is that whenever an ICBM is launched, there will be several fakes launched with the real one, just so that whatever system is trying to shoot it down has a lesser chance of actually stopping the missile. Pertoa, from everything I can find, is another reference to 4chan. For those that don't know, whenever someone posts on 4chan, their flag of origin and country is shown whenever they do so. For a small window a few years ago, there were a few flags that popped up that had the country listed as Portoa, and had a unique flag that had never been seen before. Immediately afterwards, all those posts disappeared, and 4chan simply acted like it was a glitch that never happened, leaving people to believe that Portoa or Portoya is a country that exists in a parallel universe. And that is it for Tier 4. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Tier 5 will be up soon, as well as some other videos. I just finished finals with college, so now I've got a good window to make more content for you. And again, absolutely thank you guys for getting me to the point that I could be monetized. It really does mean a lot. And again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you to all of my patrons, but a very special thank you to my top tier patrons. Thank you.
That's sick. Yeah, he's going on the patrons. That's sick. Shout out to Wendigoon again. Another one down, and I'm loving these, and I'm absolutely loving that I can just give my input on certain ones that I think, and you guys enjoy that. I love it, and I'm grateful for all of you too. About Portoa. See, it's like Gnostics. Nah, but it's like Gnostics for him. For me, Portoa are certain words like that. About that place that could have existed. And then like even that one, going back to the other video where it talked about the guy being from the one place, or like he swore he was from another place and like showed them on the map where it would be, but there was like no evidence that this dude was really from there, yada yada, etc etc. It's insane that it just gets covered up, because imagine how cool it would be to let stuff like that just go if parallel universes pop up, or like they're literally stifling connections with other, realities. I don't know. That's just me. They're stifling, yeah. Is what it is, I guess. It is what it is. And then the other ones that I may not have commented on, Valis was pretty cool. Manicism, I guess, I don't know. Negative flank feedback kind of had me sleeping, and then yeah, but Valis was a really cool thing. But the thing about Valis, or just I don't want to get too esoteric in talking about what it is, but, or not like what it is, but okay, I'll say it again, give a quick disclaimer. Basically, the gods and stuff that exist in mythology are basically supposed to represent energy sources and represent you. They're just supposed to be archetypes of people, the people that made them. I saw a joke from a philosopher. Not a joke, but I took it as a joke because it's like comical. You see how comical everything is. Of course, gods act in the ways of the people that wrote them, who gave them names. See what I'm saying? So it's like that. It's like they honestly all just represent you. Okay, I'm out of here. Much love and moonlight to you guys. Thank you. Subscribe if you want to be a founder and be a part of the founders. Peace out.